Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Thomas Smitherman, PhD. I'm a clinical psychologist, specialised in treating social anxiety. This is one of my many videos on the topic. For this video, I'm going to go back to again, one of the core principles I have for treating social anxiety, which is externally focusing your attention, basically getting out of your head and externalizing your attention onto what's happening in the world around you. This makes a huge difference in how anxious you feel. Anytime you're anxious, if you can get yourself out of your own head and be processing what's happening in the world around you, your anxiety will come down. So, great skill. You will see this come up again and again with me across all different kinds of topics. So I want to talk about one of those today, which is the need to externalize attention to see how your interactions actually go and to see exactly how accepting or rejecting the environment is and people are. You may have come across that people with social anxiety disorder have a bias to interpret neutral things as being negative. Meaning, like in some studies, socially anxious folks would interact and you ask them afterwards, how did it go? They'd say, it went bad. But they'd have a set of people observing, an audience, and the audience would say, pretty good. So there's this documented difference between people think it went well, but if you have social anxiety disorder, you think it goes badly. So you can imagine how impactful that is. If you spent a week of going around having bad interactions, you're going to feel pretty ashamed and pretty anxious about the next time, because why wouldn't that one also go badly? But what if those didn't go badly? What if that was a week's worth of neutral to positive interactions? You really want to know that. This is one of the we want to change this. This is one of our targets. If it went well, we want to know it went well. So this is one of the biases we're trying to change. I see this a lot in my practice. I've had multiple people I've worked with come in and tell me, oh, I had this bad interaction that ends up not being the case later on or through the evidence we look at. I've had multiple times where people have come in and said, I went on this date, but the other person wasn't into it. And then later they've gotten like a text or communication saying, I had such a great time. So I see this difference pretty regularly. Doc. It's not just for interactions like that. It's also it's kind of like negative interpretations of just the world, where the socially anxious kind of threat system experience of the world is different to how it looks to everybody else, or is different to how the reality is. Like for instance, I had a session where I was working with somebody who was afraid of standing in lines, like at a store or a Starbucks or something, because of this idea that everybody was observing and judging. So like sort of picking, like how she looked and what she was doing and where her hands were and all this kind of stuff, and critiquing it. So in that case, we went and stood in line, and we had to look around and see who's looking, how many people are looking. In her mind, it was a lot of people were looking, judging, but when she actually forced herself to look and test it out, people weren't looking. They were on their computers, they were on their phones, they were having conversation, they had their headphones in. People were absorbed in something because we're pretty boring, we're not very interesting to look at. But that was another example of she needed to be externally focused to observe this stuff, when she was internally focused, she was really processing this picture she had in her head of what she believed was happening. So this is kind of multiple examples of the same idea of getting external to look for the information that things went well or things are okay, things are safe. Information that turns the threat system off. So what's happening here? I mean, I've kind of pointed out already, but further research into this has shown us this, that people with social anxiety tend to rely upon internal information when deciding how things went, rather than looking at the external evidence at hand. So images in the head or feelings, or how I felt about it, what pictures I might imagine internally versus what I actually see. Another central process across all the treatment I do is we want to look at things as a scientist. We want to be an observer, an impartial observer, and look at the information rather than being swayed by our feelings about it, because our feelings in social anxiety are skewed negative. So we want to be a scientist, we want to be a lawyer, we want to be some sort of impartial observer. So, and this comes up sometimes in my therapy with people. I will tell them, no, we really have to look at what evidence is admissible here. And for instance, your internal feelings about how it went, that's not really admissible evidence in court. Your mind reading of this person must be thinking this, that's not really admissible in court. Instead, what was the direct observable evidence we have to go on? This happens all the time, lots of people. But one recent example was I had a dating anxiety exposure. So like a wonderful guy, and he was having an interaction with a confederate, so somebody who worked with me, who was an attractive woman, and they had an interaction. And at the end of it, he had his set of goals. And I asked him, how did it go? And he said bad, pretty bad. And, gave him a look, because awkwardly enough, I'm sitting right there in my chair observing this interaction. So I got to see it all. And what I saw was not bad. So I asked him, okay, well, what happened? What's the evidence? What did you see that was bad? Hard to come up with something. He felt bad about it. I asked him, okay, well, he said I screwed up. And, well, here were your specific goals you had. Did you reach those goals? Well, now that I think about it, yes, I did what I was supposed to, but maybe I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't amazing or something. Yeah, but you met the goals, so that was fine. How did it go externally? What did you observe? And we had to kind of work our way through it, but she laughed, she talked a lot, she asked questions. When he shared things, she reciprocated, self-disclosed as well. When we actually went through it, the evidence was good. It was a good interaction. It went well. And we stopped and we kind of contrasted that between internally, and his initial internal response was, it went bad, I screwed up, she didn't like me, it went bad. We looked at the actual evidence as an impartial observer, as a scientist. It was good. Well, it went very well. The evidence that we could admit said this was a good interaction. And then at the end of that, he felt differently about it. Not like suddenly over the moon, but he wasn't down, he felt much better about it. And as an aside, I checked with her later. She said, it was a great interaction, I had a great time. So it was good. The external evidence worked. We can only use the external evidence. So what this translates to, sort of what you should do, is whenever you can, force yourself to externalize. Externalize and look for Look for the information, the external observable evidence. Don't go based on what you feel or the images in your head. Test it out. Have a look for it. And do look for positive. Look for the positive information. Look for signs of warmth. It's got some dog action again. Look for signs of warmth. Look for signs of acceptance. Even if you're interacting, definitely look for that stuff. Even if you're not, if you're by yourself, look around, look for positivity. Who looks kind, who looks warm, who looks open. This can help turn the threat system off in your environment. You can look and see, oh, it's actually kind of a friendlier, safer environment than I was imagining when I was internal. Look for the signs that it's safe, look for the signs that it's warm, that it's friendly. Look for acceptance. And when you do need to assess things, step back and do it as an impartial observer. Imagine you're in a court of law. Would that information be accessible? And in order to get the information, you've got to be external. If you stayed internal the whole time, you've got nothing to go on. So force yourself to look for it all. Okay, hope that's helpful. Please subscribe. Our videos coming out every week.